Okay, we have the cells apart, or the plastic guards off the cells. I had to restart the camera. Camera stopped, and I had to restart. So I thought I would go ahead and just mark off the cells in the way that I will be cutting them. So you can see that. I'll go through that in a second. But what I wanted to cover is a couple of points about these cells. So I think I showed you this at the start of the video. And I'll just run through them again. So this is the type of cell that they are, and I can just run through and you can read it, pause and read it if you want. It's the specs on that particular cell. So they come on the buses. They were in a big pack like that, and this is the individual modules. And then this is where they would have been put on the bus, and that's pretty, you can find this information online if you look up that company, BAE Systems. So there you go. I don't know if they actually mention the type of cell it is, but you can get that as well. And once you find this, you'll find the type of cell. Anyway, so I'll set that aside now. So what I did want to mention about these particular individual cells that are in these packs, these modules, is that these cells, let's go a little closer down, they are marked positive and negative, and you'll see it right there. Now, keep in mind that the outer shell of these particular cells, these A123 system, there's right there, so you can look them up. The outer shell is positive, and the inner core is negative, which is backwards of what you would normally find in a 18650 laptop battery, or even a 26650 like these K2 cell. I have some of those out in the garage, and the K2s are, the outer shell is negative and the inner core is positive. So these are backwards, and I don't know if there's any other company that made them like this or not, but it's just something that's good to know if you're handling them, because when you go to wire them up, or when you rearrange, say you broke them all down, you have to know that the orientation of the positive and negative on them. So be very careful with that. Just don't rush into doing things without checking them. Anyway, what I'm going to do, and I'm running low battery here, so I'm going to go through this quickly. My plan is to do what I did with this one over here. I'll break these down into 3 individual 12-volt batteries packs. So that'll give me 6 altogether, 2 modules. So you take them and you have, there's 2, 4, 6, 8. So that'll give you 12 volts. And now here's where you'll have to cut them. So in order to get the 12 volts for my particular use, you might want another voltage, but mine is going to be 12 volts. So I marked off in there. So I cut there and go around that one, go around that one, and go around that one. So this will leave positive, and these will be the negative. On this side is the negative side of the cell pack. So that would continue on negative, and then we go over here and it'll be positive, and I'll cut it again. So that would be 12 volts, negative, and then positive, and that will be 12 volts, 12 plus, you know how it works. If you're doing this, you should already know that part. Because these are 3.2 volt nominal cells. They're not like the lithium cobalts like you find in Tesla, where they're quite a bit, they're a bit higher, and you have to know the difference between the two, the lithium iron and the cobalt lithium lipos and all that. You should really know that before you start a project like this. So I will cut them. I'm not going to cut them right here, but I may take a video. I tried to cut them with tin snips on the first one. Don't do that. You're going to get in too close and you can short them. I was lucky I didn't, but after doing one cut, I realized that wasn't a good idea. So when you get so these are the metal bus bars for all the cell packs, and you'll cut through one. So, but I'll show you what you have to do on the other side, which is very simple. I'm going to just give me a second. I'm going to flip this over. So on the other side, you'll have, to make a 12-volt pack, you'll have one plate, two plates, and then you'll cut here. So this cut right there corresponds with my mark on the other side, as you can see. So this will be, this is simple on this side, you could just cut through. So like I said before, I used or I don't know if I mentioned it, but I used a die grinder to cut the metal with a diamond bit on it. And that worked really well. Set that back down. So I had a diamond wheel and on my little Dremel, and it could snip that through and just very controlled. It doesn't sound like you could, but you really do. It's very controlled, and I would recommend that you use that because you can actually manipulate it around the tops of these cells. Because if you come through and hit those cells, you're going to damage them and possibly catch them on fire. So you want to just come through lightly with the die grinder. Even if you don't have a diamond blade on, you could probably use just an abrasive blade, even a small stone, but be very careful on the width of it because you don't want to go in there. And they cut so nice and so much simpler than trying to use like a set of metal cutters, metal shears, or tin snips we'll call them, or sheet metal aviation cutters. And that's it. That's what I wanted to mention on these, how I'm going to cut it apart, what it's going to look like. And it's very simple once you have done one, but I can tell you from starting myself and not knowing how to do it, it was a nail biter. And I thought if I could make a video to help someone else out, then that's what it will be. Now I don't know if I showed you this in the other video. So I'm going to show you again. Sorry if it's twice. So my plan is to use these ammo boxes. So 2 of these cells. So there's 2 12-volt packs in one box. Now if you wanted to make 24 volt, it's easy to do too because you have two 12 volts sitting there. But mine are going to be 12 volt. So this is a 50 caliber ammo box, and then that fits in perfectly. So there's room for BMS, there's room for wiring. So I'll have, in total, I'll have 3 of these cases made, and they'll be going in my on hand for my motorhome, for my RV, which is out here. So we have a Pleasure Ways. Oh, that's not very focused. The Pleasure Way van. So we needed to have them fairly small configurations because there's not a lot of storage in that RV for extra batteries. So this will be good. And I start cutting the cells, I'll possibly do a little video on that, but I'll let you know. You'll see it. It's posted. Thank you. Bye. Okay, now that the outer shell is off the module, off the battery pack, I have 192 batteries, or individual cells that are all tied together to make up, it makes up almost around 40 volts. I'm going to break them down into 12 volt sections, or 12.6 nominal. I've marked off where I want to cut already with marker, and I'll move, I just want to talk a little bit about the safety. I have safety glasses on, rubber gloves, put long sleeve shirt on just so I can rest my arm on the battery pack, and while I cut it. So I'm going to be using this diamond blade, and it's hooked to a Dremel cable, and it's not necessary to have that. It was already set up, so I decided that's what I would just go with. It worked quite well for the last time. Lots of control, but you don't need that. You can just use the Dremel as long as you have a place to rest your arm. So anyway, I'll move the camera down, and yes, I want to talk a little bit about these little blades. I don't know the quality control in the factory that makes these. That's why I take the precautions, wear safety glasses. I don't know if you have ever seen a disc come apart, but it can be quite harmful to you if they do. And this one, I've never had one of these little diamond ones come apart, but I've had abrasive discs come apart, and they do hurt when they hit you. So always wear protection. And with the bigger discs, like a grinder, I always use the full guard. But with these, I think it'll be okay to wear just safety glasses. If I get a cut in my face, it'll just make me look prettier, that's all. All right, so let's just go down and to the battery, and have a look and start cutting. Hopefully you can see it. I'll see if I can get there. I can't really. All right, I'll move back a bit. Okay, so right there. So right here, you can see it or not, this will be, I've marked it off, and I don't have my regular glasses on, so it's a little harder for me to see. So I'm going to be cutting along here on these lines, and I will V-nip this piece out because I want to save this because they come in handy. It's zinc, or not zinc, but nickel, and it's probably high grade in these units. So anyway, let's get started. We'll do a little cutting and see where it goes. So with these little die grinders on this type of a configuration, yeah, pick it up off the table before you start cutting, or your wife will get mad, or your family won't be happy with cuts on the table. I'm working inside on this pack because my heater in the garage died, and we're in Canada, and Western Canada, and it's like 30 below zero outside right now. So normally I would do this outside. All right, let's get going. Just make light cuts and go slowly around that battery, because you really don't want to hit those. Take your time. There's no rush. This is the part that can be very stressful because you're actually cutting something. So I want to get up so I can see a little better here. Two hands, and now I'm about ready to cut through the whole plate. So I made my track, and now I'm cutting through the plate, and it cuts very easy. So you look straight down on the pack when you're doing it, you'll see that you're between the battery posts. So you see the outer rim. This one's going to have to start over here just a little bit further. The last thing you want is to cut into one of these batteries with this, or anything. You'll short it out, and you'll probably say, be very careful, I'm getting too fast with myself, go slow. Caught on the metal. There it goes, just cut through. So yeah, don't get distracted like I am while trying to do a video, and just take your time. Because it will catch on you. I mean, it jumps a little, but good two-hand control is important. Kind of look at the tops of the batteries, kind of estimate the distance you need to be away. Okay. That's cut through, that's cut through, that's cut through. Now let's go here. Now if you want, I was cutting the V on that. You don't have to, you just cut it straight off if you want. Just watch the battery. So that's gone. So I believe that should be all separated. Yep. See? Completely separated. So, I'm going to shut this Dremel off. Let it stop before I set it down. I'm going to show you the other side now. Get that over the way. So we'll flip it over and I'll show you, and we'll cut the other side, and then that'll be the end of the video. There's no point in going on. Just make sure when you flip it over There's no metal pieces or anything laying on you where you're going to lay it, because you could short the thing out. Let's lay it back down. So there you go. So that's that part. So I'm just going to take my knife, because now we're dealing with this plastic piece. So I'm just going to take my knife and I'm going to put my glasses back on, because I can't really see very well. Not as well as I thought I could. Alright, now I can see. So let's just cut this piece off. So you can see the cells now. So just cut between them. They cut easy. And when you get over here, just be careful. You're not going to connect the knife between the two anyway. It won't short over unless you lay it right flat, which you probably shouldn't be doing. There. And just use the tip of the knife. Actually works better anyway. Stuff isn't hard, but it can be a bit. There you go. Not the perfect cut, that's for sure. It moves around on you, so because I don't have any tension on it anymore. There. There's one 12-volt cell apart. See? Excellent. So when I cut the, let's put you back up. Well, actually, I'll show you first here. So I have two more to do, or one more cut to make on the top, which will take apart this other piece. This is in the way. You can get rid of that once you make the next cut. And so let's drop this out of the way a little bit. So with this piece here, now this 12-volt pack, remember that your negatives, so when you're actually doing your tie-in, you see where I mark negative and positive. This will be the top. This is where you'll do your negative lead and your positive lead. And it's a draw off, and you might want to do a couple. I don't know how I'm going to do it. Probably do a couple 10 gauge silicone wires. I use silicone wires in all my stuff for this. Anyhow, that's getting ahead of myself. This is the cutting part, so it's cut. When you cut the black case to mate with this, I lay it over and then I'll mark, and I actually split this set of cells to share this side to cover this part over here. So you do what you want. One thing I want to talk to you about is when you're cutting those black pieces down to size to match with these cells, you have to, I would recommend doing it outside if you can, or in a space where you can get rid of the dust, because that black plastic or whatever it is with this fine diamond wheel, and this is what I used to cut it, it made a pretty big mess. It was pretty dirty stuff. It wasn't a lot of it, but it was very fine and dark, and it wiped off easy. But anyway, you'll pick where you want to do it. So that's that. That's how you cut these cells apart to make, and it would be no different if you're cutting apart for 36 volt or like, depending on what you want. It doesn't matter, just the cutting. But I do find that using the Dremel is probably your best bet. You will see that there's no cuts into the batteries or anything like that. I don't know if I mentioned it in the other video, the earlier video when we removed the casing, is that these battery cells, they are marked. You can see them. It's marked negative and positive right there, and there's what type of cell they are. They're 26,650 cells. Now, important to know and remember when you're working with these, that this outer shell of these batteries are positive, and the inner core is the negative. Now that's, in my experience, that's reverse of like the 18650 laptop batteries, all those, and also it's reverse of a set of the K2s that I have new. I bought some new K2s, and they actually, our outer shell is negative and the inner core is positive. So keep that in mind when you're dealing with this particular type of cell, that they are reversed. And so when you start hooking them back up, you have to remember that, because especially when you're working around them, if you nick one, you can really short them out pretty quick. So be very careful. Anyway, thank you very much. And I have 3 ammo boxes that I'm going to show you what I'm doing with them, just so you know. Just only take a minute. So I'll just grab one right here. So this is a 50 caliber ammo box. 2 of those 12 volt packs fit nicely in these ammo boxes, and that gives you room for wiring your BMS and some other things that you may want to put like down through the top, like your voltmeters and all this stuff. So they do fit nicely in there, and if you're going for 24 volt, you can still do 24 volt because you have 2 12s, and they fit nicely. And this is a 50 caliber ammo box. Now I have 2 more I ordered from Amazon that are coming today. Of course they're purple because that's what my wife wanted. I don't know why. Anyway, she says they look cool, and they are the same dimension. So hopefully they're a little different company that made them, but they're the same dimension and everything. So hoping that they'll still fit in nicely like this. So thanks very much, and we'll possibly do a video when I actually start building these. But there are lots of videos out there on building ammo box power supplies and stuff like that. So if you want, you know, I'll post one. You can watch it if you like. That's how I'll say it. But anyway, the daunting task of cutting these cells apart isn't that bad once you have some guidance. You know, I didn't have any guidance, not much guidance, and the first time is you're shaky, a little bit nervous about shorting them out. You don't want to fire on in your place, but don't take shortcuts, and be very careful with these cells because they are high discharge, and they will burn on you if you short them, and they could burn. I'm not saying they will for sure, but they definitely could. Anyway, enough talking, wasting your time. Thanks a lot. Bye. Okay, the ammo boxes have showed up. So we've got 2 new ones, and I'll just hold one up here so we can see. So these are the ammo can made by MTM, made in the USA. They're 50 cal boxes. Now had the cells like I showed in the other video. The cells were in this one, which is a slight bit bigger. This is Magnum. I think it was built by Magnum, I believe is the company that built this one. It's a slight bit bigger box. There's a little more room in it, but they do fit. I took them out of this one and put in this, and they still fit in nicely. Actually, if I just trim these tabs off, which have no purpose whatsoever other than saying positive and negative, which doesn't really mean anything anymore since we cut them. These fit really tight in there, so they won't move around. There's still room for the BMS and some wiring, and there's room up top in this high area to put a gauge, or even still in here there's room to put a voltmeter right in here. But anyway, that's the ammo boxes. So we'll have 3. We'll have 2 purple ones and one of the green ones, with these, oops, moving around too fast here. So we have so that'll be good. Oh, and I have 1 cell out in the garage. I was wondering, I was kind of hesitating because I was missing a cell. I wondered where it went. So we'll have 3 complete 12 volt batteries. These are pretty cool looking boxes. I'm kind of glad my wife picked out the purple ones. I quite like them. Nice. They feel this particular ammo can, the plastic feels just a little bit lighter than the Magnum built ones. I'm sure they'll be fine. They've had good reviews. They're very solid feeling. One person was talking that the handle was not going straight up and down. But with these purple ones, the handle does go straight up and down, not off like this. And he did show his, and they were off. And maybe that was an older version of these boxes. Anyway, one more time at the specs on this box. Anybody wants to, is anybody doing this work? They will know that these 50 caliber boxes, yeah, ammo cans will work for these cells if you break them down like I have. Okay, thanks.